So today we're working with a Honda GCV 160 motor. It is powering a Snapper 22-inch all-wheel drive walk-behind mower. Nice little unit. I've checked the gas level. It is full. I actually topped it off. I made sure my gas flow is on, in the on position. I also checked my oil to make sure the oil sensor is not telling it to not run. She is full of oil. But the issue is, I guess, that it will not run, so we're going to test it right now to see what's going on. Here we go. Fire in the hole, hopefully. Okay, so I'm not going to pull all day. We don't hear anything. I'm going to do a quick cheat, and I'll show you this mechanics cheat. I'm going to squirt a shot of ether in here to see if that could be the issue. If it's definitely a gas carburetor issue or if it's electrical. But this is quick. Real quick breath. So that just tells us that this motor does run. She is not getting gas. So it could be gas line issue. It could be this valve is plugged up. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the carburetor issue. Let's get it on the stand, and we'll check the sediment bowl next. Here we go. Alright, so our next step is let's loosen this sediment bowl to see if we get a drip. That way we know that we got gas flowing. So obviously make sure you got a full tank of gas. And then you will just loosen this up just to see if we get gas to start dripping, and you'll know if you got gas or not. Go into the sediment bowl. There, so we do. Definitely got gas. Alright, so now we know that this will be a carburetor issue. It's going to be probably this float, and some juts are clogged from ethanol, from setting all winter. So now we got to take this apart, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so what we need to do is take these 2 long threaded bolts right out, and they go through the air box, through the carburetor, into the air intake. But first thing we need to do is shut this gas off. So we're going to shut this gas off, and now we will take our 10mm sockets on a 1/4-inch drive, screwdriver, and loosen these up. So now I'm just going to set this down and do the rest by hand if I can. Felt like it was loose enough. So that's how long they are. Set that right in your mower deck. It's a good place to catch things as they fall. Of course, I'm using my left hand to capture the air box and the carburetor, so things don't go flying. You want to keep it as neat as possible. You will get some drippage from your sediment bowl because there's gas still in it. There's a second one. Now we're going to unhook this air box. So there's this valve, it's a suction line, just pulls out, don't need any tools, and you set the air box out of the way. So now we have our throttle linkage governor set up. We have this metal spacer. We'll set that with the bolts. That we got to remember that goes in between the carburetor, the choke mechanism, and the air box. Now we can take off this back piece. This just floats in there, believe it or not. It goes right in between. This is your heat shield. Now we're just dealing with the carburetor. So first thing I take out is the spring, the governor throttle. And now we have to take this out. Just going to try to set it up so I can use take this line off last. So So we're going to set that right there. I'm going to hit pause because I'm going to need some other tools. Okay, so I had to get some needle nose so I can, what you need to do on these type of clamps is pull them toward the carburetor. Don't try to go over this nipple here because it's really difficult to do. Sometimes you can just pull it, but I'm going to have you feel my pain because you're going to deal with this little type of clamp too. They're not my favorite, but they do work well. Alright, so we get it as far forward toward the carburetor as we can. And now we're just going to pull, and of course you make sure your gas line is off. We already did that. But sometimes you got to twist. Don't yarn too hard. Okay, there we go. So that stayed on. So we're good. So here's your carburetor. This is what it looks like. We're going to get her on the bench, and I'm going to show you how to clean her out good. We're going to clean inside and out. We got to take the sediment bowl off. We're going to clean all the jets and ports. Alright, here we'll hit pause and move to the bench. Okay, so here we got the carburetor. I got a gas can that I'm going to drop all the excess gas that's in the sediment bowl. So let's see, here we go. So I'm going to tip it up so you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this 10 millimeter bolt out and drop the sediment bowl. But let's drain everything. See this nipple? That's your inlet. We're going to drain that right into this gas can and just let that drip for a few seconds. You can hear it running. I can't see it. That way you don't have so much gas and make such a mess. So we'll just keep it dripping for a second here. Now I'm going to take my 10 millimeter and just loosen this up once you get it broke free. Now this has a gasketed washer. You need to keep that on this bowl. Don't lose it. They're not expensive, but if you don't need to buy one, don't. So I already see ethanol buildup right on the bottom of this bolt. So here we go. We're going to probably see other issues here. There we go. There's the rest of the gas. Oh boy, this is going to be good information for everybody about ethanol. So let's set this down. If we take a look inside, can you see this buildup? I can wipe it out with my finger. See all that ethanol? That is ethanol buildup. So this carburetor is going to be really filthy inside. It's nobody's fault. When you're done with the mower for the season, you can run some stable through it. That'll help this stuff not to gunk up your carburetor. But there's no perfect cure, because I know people who've done that and still brought their mower to me. So we're going to take this gasket off. We're going to be using some carburetor cleaner, but I'm going to wipe most of this right out of here just with my rag. Look at all that. That's just terrible stuff. So let's just clean this. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses. These can spit back into your eyes. I have glasses on. Always use safety glasses. Safety first. Always. Or else you're going to be hiring someone to not only fix your lawnmower, but to mow your lawn too. Okay, so now let's make sure. Yeah, so this one will come right out. So I do have these needle nose nearby. So let's pull this. Can you see what I'm doing? We're going to pull this pin. Hang on to your float. This is the float pin. Okay, set that pin right down. We're going to lift the float straight out. So first thing I always check for when I pull a float is to see if there's any fluid in it. That will tell you if there's any holes in the float. And this is the plumb bob that looks nice and clean. That fell out. I'll show you how to put that back in. So now I'm looking at this screw in this port right here, and I see all sorts of nastiness in it. So I am going to spray heavily with my carbon choke cleaner, and we're going to get this reamed out with the brushes first. So let's do that. Let's start reaming and see what happens here. Yeah, see, this one's already bunged up. That's not good. That's very ungood. I can see nastiness in there. So we're going to have to unscrew that one. But while we're here, we'll just start reaming the jets and ports. Just try to get it as clean as you can, and then the carburetor choke cleaner will do the rest of the job. We're going to break it up. So right here, inside here, is a screw. If you use a long, thin head, flathead screwdriver, you can unscrew this. And I have a feeling we're going to be busy right here. You can see gunk on it right here. Yeah. Not bad on the inside here. So let's see if we can clean it out from here. Oh yeah, it's much better. So if you look inside your carburetor, hold your throttle port open. You can see we'll get a thinner one. Your goal is to ream and clean every hole that you can find in the carburetor. It's that simple. You don't need to know what one does where. You just need to clean it. Okay, here we go. So I'm not going to put stable. It's I have stable carb cleaner. I'm not going to use the carb cleaner in my gas. That gas, I'll repurpose it to clean things with. Believe it or not, it's a very good cleaner, even though it's not a clean gas. So now I'm going to take my carbon choke cleaner. I'm going to start spraying. I'm going to start breaking down any of that ethanol that's in. And I'm just doing openness first. Get things lubricated with the ethanol cleaner. Never spray directly in your face. Look at how it sprays right back. And if you look over here, you're going to see it's coming out this port. So now I'm going to go right. This is the one that we just was working on. All these little holes in there. Each one will have ethanol buildup in it. That's going to work much better because that was plugged solid before. Alright, so now there we go. Something just gave right there. That's a good deal. Alright, so I clean the outside of it too. Why put it all together when it's all dirty, right? You see it just eating up this dirt in here. It's really good cleaner. Doesn't hurt anything. There, now we're looking like a new carb. It's going to work like a new carb too. See, it's that quick and simple. So you can fix it too. You watch these videos and learn how to do these things. You'll be able to not only do a snapper with a Honda motor, but they all become interchanged in your brain. You can figure out what does what. Alright, so now we gotta take this guy and clean it. This is the worst part because she is plugged solid. This is a very important piece. Gas has to flow through it. Sometimes I've had it so bad, and this one might be the case, where you need to take a drill and drill it out. But I hate to do it because you're all of a sudden changing things. This is engineered for a reason at this size, and I don't know the exact size drill bit that I would need. So of course I'm sure I would oversize it and alter the engineering, and then all of a sudden this is not going to run like it's supposed to. There we go. Yes. What I like to see. She's going to flow good now. Look at that. It's coming right out. Good. Happy day. So we'll put this right back in. Set it right down in. And use your long, thin, flathead screwdriver to screw it back in. Make sure you don't strip it. It's brass. You can ruin it real quick. How do you not strip it? You back it up, even when it's loose. You are loosening it until you feel a click. Once you feel that click, you know that it's ready to line up, and you will be able to tighten it forward. Okay. This is the gasket. No gasket or gas carb cleaner on a gasket. It'll ruin that gasket. This is our float mechanism. So we need to show how to put that properly back together. So on this float, there is a spot specially made for the plumb bob. This plumb bob, I call it a plumb bob. It's really a plunger. So you got to be like really well balanced when you're doing these, because they are slippery and they like to just bounce right out. So you tip it back once you get it lined up in that. You set it right in where she's supposed to go first. That has to go in first. Now we're going to take our pin that we took out earlier. We just wiggle it around until it lines up. I have a feeling I am not in the camera. So there you go. And when you set these in, equal on both sides. So if it's, you don't want to see it farther on the other side than on one side than the other. So you want them equal. So now we're all set to put our sediment bowl. So our sediment bowl, we cleaned it earlier, so it's all set. There is no specific way to set it in. Some have a beveled end on it. That beveled end has to go in a certain way, but this one there is no studying for. Now I want to clean this ethanol off this before I put it back together. So you can see the white powder. It looks like chalk, and that gasket will get destroyed by my carburetor cleaner. So I'm just going to spray it right off. You don't need to go crazy with it. Just get it wet. Just dry it off, because we're going to put that gasket back on, and we're going to get this lawnmower running in 2 minutes. Alright, so I still have some buildup, and I am going to use a brush, and I got one right here. I don't have to go to my cabinet. I can use these. I think I will go to my cabinet because I need something harder. I'm going to use a brass brush. that's looking better. No sense of putting it back in there. Okay, we're good. Let's just put this right back on. Make sure your gasketed washer is in place. It will leak like a sieve if you do not. Let's move our oil pan before we cause a disaster. 10 millimeter. And this is a ratcheting one, box end. You can use any. Okay, we're good to go. So the thing to remember as you're filling this up, you will need to crack it and make sure you got gas coming out, one reason. Second reason, these will get an air pocket in them. And then you'll say, oh, well, gee, I did everything, but it won't start. Well, there can be an air pocket formed in this sediment bowl by tightening it up too tight prematurely. So you want to just leave it loose. And then when you get onto the lawnmower, you open it up, let it drip out, and then tighten it like you saw me do to check it. It's really important to do that. Otherwise, you can be cranking and cranking and cranking and bring it back to me. And the reason is you didn't get rid of the air pocket. Okay? They all do it. All little carburetors do that. Okay, let's hit pause and go back to the machine. Okay, so let's go over this real quick. You got to remember how to put it back together. So if you get confused, this carburetor can only go one way because this is your inlet, right? The gas feed goes into your carburetor. That can only go on one way. You can't put it on this way. It just won't work. Okay, so that's really that in a nutshell. And remember that we have to sandwich everything together. These long bolts go through everything. So you have to really place it all together properly the first time. Alright, so now before we go any farther and put things together, we need to put the linkage back on, our throttle linkage. So we need to do that first. It is impossible to do it any other way. It has to be done first. Okay, here we go. So I can put that nipple on and still hold it all together. Do not turn on your gas yet. Let's set it down now. It should stay right there. Let's get our bolts. Get both of them in place. Now we're going to just start sandwiching. We're going to start sandwiching things together. Make sure you put your pinky in the right spot. Okay. So this is a spacer. Remember that this goes on first. We have to line that spacer up so it's on correctly. There is one little hole right here that lines up with the hole on the frame of that carburetor. Let's set that in so we don't do it any other way. That's the correct way for that to go. There. Now that cannot be messed up. Next is our carburetor. We put that in place. Line up those holes. These are the tricky part. You got to fish it through. Okay. Now this back piece, there's it's a heat shield. It's made out of like a cloth type fibrous material that goes on next, and then this is the last piece. This can only go on one way. If you take a look, there's a connection right in here, so it has to go in this way. Alright? Can't do it any other way. It won't fit any other way. So it's pretty easy. So here we go. We line up the two holes and just get one of the bolts started. Once it's started, life is good once it's started. Sometimes it is much easier if we use the socket and our fingers. You don't have to over crank it. This one feels like it's been apart before and it may have been over cranked. You just need to snug them. Don't over crank, just feel it snug. That's it. Doesn't have to be on super hard. Okay, we're good. Throttle linkage is good. I am now going to turn on the gas, see if we got anything crazy happening. While that is filling up, I will have to loosen the sediment bowl nut. But let's see if we get it to fill up before I loosen it. No dripping. No dripping yet. Just gotta really loosen it. And we're on. Making me nervous. No dripping. There we go. Yes, sir. Okay, see, that would have been an air pocket if I didn't do that. I definitely would not have gotten in there, so just snug it up in a second here. Don't have to go crazy. Just snug so she's not dripping. Alright, so I think by the time I get this off my cart, it should be ready to start. So let's hit pause and get it off the cart and go from there. Okay, so before we actually start it, let's put this air cleaner back together. So that's how this will go. It sets in there. This is your top. So these little snap-on air filter air boxes are great. Let's give her a shot, see if she'll start. Hopefully we're a success. Here we go. Fire in the hole. Cover your ears. Make sure you got proper ventilation.